chapter 28 and 29, part 2. Alright, when last we left off, we were talking about Surrealism. And basically, Surrealism is what happens when you stop worrying about having any sort of this has got to relate to people and they've got to understand what you're talking about, and you start just going like, there's a cool thing I dreamed once. And sometimes you're just messing with people. For example, this says, this is not a pipe. In French, this is not a pipe. But it's clearly a pipe. You look at that, it's a pipe. But it says it's not a pipe. What's the point of that? Is there a point of that? Is there a point in anything? Is there a point in life? After the terror of World War I, makes a lot of people question themselves. And when it comes down to it, it's not a pipe. It's a picture of a pipe. Is anything really what we say it is? What's the point in all of it? Life is a dream that we all exchange and we all share. Or maybe not. Here's another one. Also, that one was by René Magritte, as is this. And this says, The Lovers. And it's two people with bags on their head kissing. And I once had a student say, hey, Mr. Oliver, are these people ugly? I do not think that's what he's going for. If I had to interpret, and I'm not sure I'm correct, okay? But if I'm going to play Sister Wendy, I would say Magritte is saying in this picture, first of all, it's weird, so it could just be weird for weird's sake. Or it could be, do we really ever know each other? Aren't we masking our true selves when we open ourselves up to another person? I think it's somewhere along those lines. Magritte is also famous for these pictures of businessmen, and their faces are obscured. Could be by birds, as we have here. Bird. I mean, that would be awkward. Taking a picture of somebody, much less a painting. And you're like, oh, well, I'm going to paint this picture. Oh, a bird flew in front. That's not a good excuse, René Magritte. So it must be intentional. Here, there's an apple in front of his head. Why? Does it make sense? No. Do dreams make sense? Do dreams hold truths? They can. Dreams can teach you about yourself. And really, this goes back to Freud. Sigmund Freud, the Austrian opium addict and psychiatrist guy, he's the one who says, basically, your subconscious is full of information, and you don't always know how to process it. And sometimes it seems nonsensical or weird or scary, but sometimes it's going somewhere. Like, for example, you look at this picture, you go like, okay, there's a dude, and he's got an apple in front of his head. Again, if I'm playing Sister Wendy, I could say he's faceless. Businessmen sacrifice their individuality in order to reach a greater goal, perhaps helping the company, helping the corporation, putting their own individual interests aside for the greater good of their business. And maybe the apple represents innocence or knowledge, kind of alluding to the whole story of Genesis in the Old Testament. I don't know, or maybe it means nothing. I don't know. That's the beautiful thing about Surrealism. It might mean something, it might not. I don't know. Like ones like this are Trump de Oil types. This is also by Magritte. I like Magritte, in case you can't tell. It is a painting of a window. But it's also, look at that, this is a canvas right here. I'm tracing it. You see the little clip there? This is, or the back of the Dumafligit, I'm one taking this, so, easel, there we go, easel. Anyway, so you can see there, you got this background that is painted on a painting in front of the background. Whoa. You know what that's all about. It's a mind freak. Anyway, probably the best known of all of our friends in the Surrealist artist category, and I definitely would know Salvador Dali. His name is this guy Salvador Dali, as I said a couple of seconds ago. Salvador Dali is a skilled painter, but he will put entire canvases full of WTF, which is where's the fudge? I just can't find it. Or maybe it means something else to you. I don't know. Anyway, he's got this picture. It's called Hallucinogenic Toreador. I don't know what this means. I'm not sure he knows what it means. You look at this one, okay, persistence of time. Maybe it's about the elusiveness of life, how it's all slipping by very quickly, and there's part of a face, and there's water that just stops, and maybe that's water too, but it's like a rectangle, and there's melting clocks, and there's ants on a... I don't know, to be honest. It's beautiful, but I don't know what it means. Here is him painting Abraham Lincoln. It looks more like Abraham Lincoln the further away you go. So the further away I get, the more like Lincoln. Oh, that's Lincoln. And then you get closer. Oh, that's a naked lady. What is that saying? I don't know. Dali is open to interpretation. Now, kids these days are saying like, hey, Salvador Dali, you're painting swans reflecting into elephants and stuff like this. You're showing up at your art exhibitions dressed like a scuba diver from the turn of the century. Are you on the drugs? And Salvador Dali famously responded to that by saying, I don't take drugs, I am drugs. Which frankly is a pretty awesome thing to say. Also, I want to call attention to his amazing mustache. I mean, that is a bold move, sir. A bold move indeed. All right, let's move on. Philosophy. Philosophy after the war takes on a similar bent that art does, where it's questioning core values. We generally will say, hey, it's good to be a good person. Friedrich Nietzsche says, not sure about that. He says, ultimately, maybe we've lost what makes us special. Maybe we, as human beings, are so busy rewarding ourselves for our civilization that we've forgotten some of the pleasures of existence. He says, yeah, you go to church, you have morals, you got right and wrong. Maybe that's keeping us from excelling. Now, if you are thinking about this a little bit, you probably go, wait a second. So is there a point in good and evil according to Nietzsche? Nietzsche says God is dead. Okay? Now, obviously, this is a controversial. If I walked into a Walmart or a Target today, those are the only places I go, Walmart and Target. So don't judge me on my choices of location. And I just walked in and said, hey, guess what, everybody? God's dead. That would be controversial now, in 2014, when I'm recording this. Think of how it was back in the day before the turn of the century. And by the way, notice the fact that it says 1844 to 1900. His stuff is one of those things, his philosophy gets more popular after World War I. Because people start saying like, well, maybe Nietzsche was right. Maybe God is dead. How else could we explain the terribleness that was World War I? That was me being sad. Scene. So, if God is dead, Nietzsche, what should we do? Nietzsche would say, well, you have to be beyond ideas of good and evil. You have to be the kind of person that makes your own destiny. An Übermensch, a Superman. No, that's probably not where Superman, the comic character, comes from, but it is a word that Nietzsche uses that is translated in English often as Superman. He said Übermensch over man, but Superman's easier for a lot of people. And Superman doesn't question what he does. He knows it's right. He follows his passions. And he goes and does what he must do. Perhaps a more intellectual version of YOLO Drake. So what are other people saying? You've got Ludwig Wittgenstein, which is a nice name. He is a kind of angry dude. But basically, he focuses on clarification of language. He says, how can we even have a discussion of philosophy if we don't clarify exactly what language is saying? So, for example, I had a friend who was into this kind of thing once. My friend says, there is no racism in the world anymore. And I said, I'm not sure about that. And he said, no, racism, discriminating against someone based on their race, is illegal. And I said, well, yeah, but that still happens, I'm sure. He said, yeah, that's bigotry. That's annoying, I said, because you're just kind of talking in circles. But Wittgenstein would say, and my friend would say, hey, we're doing that so that we can clarify our thoughts, so that we can clarify exactly the meaning of our sentences, of our paragraphs, of our theses. Okay. Now we're going to finish today on this part 2 here with Jean-Paul Sartre. Say Sartre. Don't say Sartre. Say Sartre. And he is an existentialist, famous for saying one of my favorite quotes in the whole world, hell is other people. Jean-Paul Sartre says that basically you are born alone. You go through your life trying to give it meaning, and then you die, also alone. And because, according to Sartre, there is no God, everything you're doing in your life is to try to give it some structure or purpose or something you can grasp onto. And he says, well, some people turn to religion, and that's their meaning. Some people collect action figures. That's a strange example. I know, I just pulled it off the top of my head. But perhaps that's your meaning. Some people are like the Kardashians and have no meaning I can figure out, but they must find some meaning in their own lives. That's what you need to do. Now, obviously, there's a response to that. There are guys who say, hey, formal religion's a bad idea. Got you on that one. But there is a God, and you can have a relationship with that God, and that is our reason for existence. That is Christian existentialism. Soren Kierkegaard is the guy that you probably should identify with that. You have other people who go to say, well, let's get down to basics. Not business. Not let's get down to business. Not that. Let's get down to basics, fundamentals of religion. I don't want to get sued, so I'm going to stop singing. Anyway, so that's that. Finally, I know I said that, but finally for real this time, you've got people challenging basic scientific assumptions. People like Heisenberg and Einstein, not Heisenberg like on Breaking Bad, but Heisenberg as in the uncertainty principle, who are questioning what the assumptions of how the world works are. All right, I'm going to go into more detail on this one on the next part because I'm limited to 15 minutes on this free version. So watch part 3.